The Vast of Night, PG-13, hour and 31 minutes, drama, mystery, sci-fi, was released on Amazon Prime Video Memorial Day weekend, May 29th. Synopsis is, in the twilight of the 1950s, on one fateful night in New Mexico, young switchboard operator Fay, there's Fay again, and charismatic radio DJ Everett discover a strange audio frequency that could change their small town and the future forever. It actually takes place in November 1958. I found that out. Not a brand name cast. Sierra McCormick plays Fay Crocker. I liked her performance a lot. She has not done, she's done a lot of TV. I don't know if she's done a ton of movies, but I would think that after this performance, she would get a lot more roles in movies. Jake Horowitz as Everett Sloan. He was phenomenal. I thought he did an excellent job. Does not have as many credits as Sierra. But again, I feel like this could be a launch pad. This whole movie was just a launch pad for everyone involved. Like the director, Andrew Patterson. He was also the writer, editor, and producer. This was his one and only credit on IMDb. And a lot of critics are saying that this is an amazing debut, and you can only see good things for him from this point on. It was also written by Craig W. Sanger, who I don't think has any credits. So it's a lot of no name, quote unquote, no names. A lot of first timers. And considering all that, I mean, they pulled off an amazing program. Critics' consensus from Rotten Tomatoes: an engrossing sci-fi thriller that transcends its period's trappings. The Vast of Night suggests great things for debuting director Andrew Patterson. 92% of critics gave it a favorable review with a 7.84 out of 10 average rating. Audiences, 63% of audiences gave it a favorable review with an average rating of 3.42 out of 5. Very low budget, high concept, sharp, funny, ominous. One critic said the quietest moments in The Vast of Night are as creepy and effective as the loudest. With the cinematographer Miguel, I don't even know how to say that. My goodness. Miguel Aon Litin Milm for short. Patterson turns the camera into an uneasily embodied presence, and when it takes flight, so does the movie. Yeah, a lot of shots, tracking shots that at the time you're like, what is this supposed to be? Like, we're being transported across town from here to there, to the gym, to the radio station, to whatever, the switchboard operator. But when you get deeper into the story, you start to think like, whoa, there was talk about how, through the stories from Billy calling in the former soldier who is now dying of cancer, and then through the story of the mom who lost her son, like through those stories, you start to realize, okay, there was like, okay, maybe there's like the ship way up high, but there's the possibility that there are these smaller ships that get down low. And so part of me thinks, is it possible that the camera, when we are going through all these, traveling fast, low to the ground, is that potentially like one of these recon ships or something like that that go down and surveil, and maybe they're invisible? Another critic said that Patterson trusts that chemistry will compensate for a gentle thriller that chooses to impress with ingenuity and charm instead of special effects. Yeah, I mean, the cast had great chemistry, I thought, between Everett and Fay. Hard to tell, like, we were trying to determine, are they in high school? Like, Fay seems like she's in high school, but then like Everett seems like he might be in college. I can't picture him being like, he's a little too, I don't know. Maybe this is like presumptuous of me or ignorant, but like he seems a little too cocksure and like confident to be in high school. It seems like he had like the college experience under his belt, seemed like an older guy, whereas Fay seemed like very much in high school and younger. And at certain points, it almost seemed like an older brother, younger sister type vibe. I'm probably reading into that much the wrong way, but they went from that kind of relationship to the very end, which we'll get to, which was not that. Another critic said the vast of night manages to be eerie and compelling despite unfolding mostly in a series of conversations and monologues tied together by a fictional Twilight Zone-esque show called Paradox Theater. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that part of it. I have limited familiarity with Twilight Zone. But I've loved the episodes I have seen. I actually need to check out the new Twilight Zone, which I think is produced by, but it was instead it's Paradox Theater, but it's a very similar vibe to Twilight Zone. And I was trying to think as I'm watching, I'm like, what is Patterson trying to say here with this Paradox Theater? Is he trying to say, what is he trying to say? I mean, I like the aesthetic, I like the look of it. He would go from, showing our characters like in that square box TV, black and white, to like hovering or fading into the screen, and then it becomes like the colorized full-blown HD that we're so used to now. What was he trying to say with that? I think he was maybe just trying to piggyback on that kind of style and was trying to like get you in that mindset that like, and maybe that, and I'm starting to think that it was almost like a disservice. And I think some viewers said that when they were reviewing it, was like, yeah, I got this Twilight Zone type. I feel like I'm watching a Twilight Zone episode, but then there wasn't that like twist, that final twist that the Twilight Zone episodes usually come with. So it's nice. It's a nice look for sure. But then did you ultimately hurt the story because of it? Because you set up your audience or yourself for failure. Another critic said this unpacks a generation's worth of Cold War fascination and paranoia, which, yeah, you get like from the get-go. You see Everett when they have the recorder and they're playing with the new recorder, talking about like it's that whole practice like mantra or speech of like, I am not a communist, which I think that was at the height of McCarthyism or maybe right around there. So there is like, at least for Everett, the thought that like this is probably a planned attack by the Russians or by an enemy, and not this extraterrestrial life force, this alien life force. I really enjoyed when they were walking. I mean, yes, I get it. The audiences said it was hard to follow what was happening, and I can totally understand it. I mean, I always turn on closed captions and subtitles, but it was very helpful in this movie because there's a lot of rapid fire dialogue towards the beginning, and even the subtitles and closed captions have a hard time keeping up, So very grateful for that. But I can see how audiences would be like, it's a lot to process and it's not always relevant or pertains to the storyline. So yeah, I could totally get on board with that. I could see why audiences wouldn't dig it. But I did appreciate the walk from, I think, the school to the radio station, or maybe the switchboard, with Fay and Everett, with Fay talking about these articles that she's read in this like almost like a popular mechanic. Is that one of those 50s science magazines, and talking about the articles from them and bringing up like basically self-driving cars and iPhones, and like not calling them that, but like the tunnel system or tube system that everyone's been hinting at for years. And I was like, I'm sitting there going, there's no fucking way that those articles in the 50s had those predictions, because it's essentially coming true. I cannot wait for the tube system or whatever, where you can go from New York to, LA in an hour, something like that. I think Elon Musk was trying. I saw a map recently, and I was like, that's a pretty cool map. I could get on board with that. One audience member said, what I did like was the Twilight Zone vibe. I kept sticking with it, thinking we were going to get to a Twilight Zone payoff where you step back and re-examine the whole story, but that didn't happen. And yeah, so I hate to burst your bubble. If you're looking to check out The Vast Night, just don't get your hopes up. It's not the Twilight Zone ending that you would hope for. One audience member said it's like American Graffiti meets X-Files, which I thought was a good description. The radio station, their call letters are WOTW, which is an homage to War of the Worlds. I thought that was a nice little touch. The mythical town Cayuga is borrowed from Cayuga Productions, Rod Serling's production company that produced The Twilight Zone. There is no such town as Cayuga, New Mexico. It was filmed in 17 goddamn days in September 2016. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how you do that, because that's impressive. And the title is taken from Shakespeare's The Tempest. And there's a long ass quote here, and I'll read it. And I mean, you know, my mom's friend, who is an English teacher, Tom's River, she gets on me all the time because she spouts out these freaking Shakespeare quotes and expects me to know what they are, because apparently, you know, she thinks I have the gift of penmanship or whatever, like the being able to write. And I'm a writer, but not the kind of writer that she thinks I am. Anyway, here's the quote. For this, be sure, tonight thou shalt have cramps, side stitches that shall pen thy breath up. Urchins shall forth at vast of night, that they may work all exercise on thee. Thou shalt be pinched as thick as honeycomb, each pinch more stinging than bees that made 'em. I mean, what? No idea. But that's, I guess, where the title comes from, Vast of Night. Again, not a big budget, but I definitely kept my attention, and I appreciated all the costume design. I mean, all the characters were, well developed. I will say, okay, so getting to the ending. In the beginning, Everett and Fay start off as kind of like a big brother, little sister type thing going on. And then for some reason, is it her daughter or it's not her daughter? That was very confusing. There's a point where she's like, oh my God, so-and-so is supposed to be watching this little girl. She then takes off. She did a lot of running in this movie. She's like took a page from the Tom Cruise handbook and does a lot of running, and ends up running to her house. Maybe that's her little sister. I don't know. She runs in. She's like, what's going on? She grabs the kid out of the crib. The kid's awake. Takes the kid out of the house. Meanwhile, there's a woman there in a nightgown who I guess was watching the kid, but I guess was not watching the kid close enough. So Faye takes the little kid out of the house as Everett waits. They come out. They get into the car with the couple. They read the whatever language on the note from the mother who tells them the story. And the couple like ends up like falling asleep or doing something weird in the car, which is like, why are they falling asleep and why aren't you falling asleep in the back seat? They end up getting out of the car because they're like scared. They run into the woods. Why did she take the kid? And I think it's because it's the final shot, spoiler alert, where they come into this clearing in the woods. They look up and it's like all these UFOs, big UFOs, smaller UFOs. And they're looking up and they're just in awe. And it's Everett and he's side by side with Faye and the small kid. And it's almost like they look like they should be a family. Like he's the dad, she's the mom, here's the daughter. And I guess that shows like the evolution of how far they've come from throughout this ordeal, is like they had this kind of relationship here. And then through this, they now become like this family unit. Her taking the kid was weird. And I didn't really understand that, other than she starts off as this kind of naive, innocent girl who's nervous and shy when they are trying to test the recorder and interview people in the parking lot. Like starts off there. And then at the end of the movie, she's now almost like a matriarch, maternal figure who is now caring for this kid who I don't know who the fucking kid was. Her daughter, her little sister. I don't know. Why did she even take that kid out of the house? I don't know. I'm into that kind of shit, so I would recommend it. You know, it's got a great look to it, good acting, good writing, you know, but it's quiet. It's on the quieter side, and I think it's not, you know, like a lot of critics said, it doesn't depend on special effects and loud explosions and a lot of, you know, big budget action type sequences. It depends on a lot on how quiet and soft things are. Like there was a shot where Faye's at the switchboard and it's like slowly panning in on her, and she's kind of in the right third of the frame, and you're like looking. I don't know if everyone else was doing this, but I'm looking in the background like there's about to be a fucking alien over her shoulder. Like I just expected that. I was like, here it comes. Stuff like that. I think it was reminiscent of like in Signs, M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. Like there's certain eerie moments where it's like too quiet and like something's going on. and you get that kind of sense with Vast of Night. So yeah, I recommend watching it at night, possibly on drugs. It's not too long, not too drawn out. I don't think you'll be like, I wasn't horribly disappointed with the ending.